gonna be honest with you and say that you can definitely tell how good or bad my mental health is by the amount of books I bought in a month. Hi guys. Welcome back. My name is Shelby of Shelby in the Book Club, and today we've got a mighty big book haul. So if you would like to see what books I have acquired over the past month, from book subscriptions, things I've purchased, things that were sent to me, stay tuned. Y'all love these videos. I love doing them because I'm a buy a book. I'm gonna buy one. Also, all the books that you see will be available on shelbyinthebookstore.com. So if you see anything that you do want to purchase, head on over, girl. Go get you some books. Okay? Support your local online bookstore owned by Black women. It's good for your health. Stay tuned, guys. So, where do I begin? First, we begin with my favorite of them all, my literati box. Literati box. They should have me make a jingle for them. So if you guys don't know, Literati is a monthly book subscription that is a little different from the rest of them because it is a unique take on the book club. So you can join the book club of some celebrities or popular authors that are out there. For instance, I am a part of Jasmine Ward's book club, and every month you get a book and a bookmark and a little blurb from the author or from the host of the book club that you pick. It's about $25 a month. They also have a really cool app that you can use to talk about the book with the author, write your updates, ask questions, so on and so forth. I really love it so much because I feel like it is the perfect way to get in touch with people that you admire while doing the things that you love to do, which is reading books, right? I think it's super cool. So this month, Jasmine Ward chose The Gone Dead by Chanel Benz. So this says, Billy James's inheritance isn't much. A little money in a shack in the Mississippi Delta. The house once belonged to her father, a renowned Black poet who died unexpectedly when Billy was 4 years old. Though Billy was there when the accident happened, she has no memory of that day, and she hasn't been back to the South since. 30 years later, Billy returns, but her father's home is unnervingly secluded. Her only neighbors are the McGees, a family whose history has been entangled with her since the days of slavery. As Billy encounters the locals, she hears a strange rumor that she herself went missing the day her father died. As the mystery intensifies, she finds out that this forgotten piece of her past could put her in danger. Inventive, gritty, open-hearted, The Gone Dead is an astonishing story of race, justice, and memory that lays bare the long-concealed wounds of a family and a country. I want to read this right now. This sounds really good, and it's not super long either. So that is what I got in my literati box. Whatever, I'll pick that up later. And then next, I got 3 pretty big books from Book of the Month. Don't know how long I'm going to keep this subscription. I'm still kind of using down my points or credits or whatever that I have. So first up, we have Kiki by Vaishnavi Patel. This says, so begins Kiki's story, the only daughter of the kingdom of Kikaya. She is raised on the tales of the gods, how they churned the vast ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, how they vanquish evil and ensure the land of Bharat prospers, and how they offer powerful boons to the worthy. Yet she watches as her father unceremoniously banishes her mother, listens as her own worth is reduced to the marriage alliance she can secure, and when she calls upon the gods for help, they never seem to hear. Desperate for independence, she turns to the text she once read with her mother and discovers a magic that is hers alone. With it, Kiki transforms herself from an overlooked princess to a warrior, diplomat, and the most favored queen. But as the evil from her childhood stories threatens the cosmic order, the path she has forge clashes with the destiny the gods have chosen for her family, and Kiki must decide if resistance is worth the destruction it will wreck, and what legacy she intends to leave behind. This sounds so good. I added that on my list for the big book challenge that I am doing, that you guys will be hearing about very, very soon. Next on the list, we have pachinko. This could be a part of the big book challenge too, because this one is really, really big too. What, 600-700 pages? Oh no, it's only 500 pages. It's still a big one though. So this one says, profoundly moving and gracefully told, pachinko follows one Korean family through the generations, beginning in the early 1900s Korea with Sunja, the prized daughter of a poor yet proud family whose unplanned pregnancy threatens to shame them. Betrayed by her wealthy lover, Sunja finds unexpected salvation when a young tubercular minister offers to marry her and brings her to Japan to start a new life. So begins a sweeping saga of exceptional people in exile from a homeland they never knew and caught in the indifferent arc of history. In Japan, Suja's family members endure harsh discrimination, catastrophes, and poverty, yet they also encounter great joy as they pursue their passions and rise to meet the challenges this new home presents. Through desperate struggles and hard-won triumphs, they are bound together by deep roots as their family faces enduring questions of faith, family, and identity. This is also a show now on Apple TV, so I might read that soon for another series that I'm starting on the channel. Next, I have here truebiz, which just sounded really unique. And y'all know I love me a unique story. There's sign language in here. I'm so excited. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. So, truebiz. The students at the River Valley School for the Deaf just want to hook up, pass their history finals, and have politicians, doctors, and their parents stop telling them what to do with their bodies. This revelatory novel plunges readers into the halls of a residential school for the deaf, where they'll meet Charlie, a rebellious transfer student who's never met another deaf person before, Austin, the school's golden boy, whose world is rocked when his baby sister is born hearing, in February, the headmistress who is fighting to keep her school open and her marriage intact, but might not be able to do both. As a series of crises, both personal and political, threatens to unravel each of them, Charlie, Austin, and February find their lives inextricably, I don't know what the heck I just said, from one another's and change forever. This is a story of sign language, lip reading, disability and civil rights, isolation and injustice, first love and loss, and above all, great persistence, daring, and joy. Absorbing and assured, idiosyncratic and relatable, this is an unforgettable journey into the deaf community and the universal celebration of human connection. I definitely want to read this. I really want to read this. This sounds really, really good. truebiz. Okay, the rest of these are in no particular order, so we're just gonna take them as they go. First, we have the bell jar. Are y'all surprised that I've never read the bell jar? And I'm sure there has to be someone else out there that has also as well never read it, but I will read the synopsis even though I know that this is a classic that everyone has read. It says, the bell jar chronicles the crack up of Esther Greenwood, brilliant, beautiful, enormously talented, and successful, but slowly going under, maybe for the last time. Sylvia Plath masterfully draws the reader into Esther's breakdown with such intensity that Esther's insanity becomes completely real and even rational as improbable and accessibly an experience as going to the movies. Such deep penetration into the dark, harrowing corners of the psyche is an extraordinary accomplishment and has made the bell jar a haunting American classic. I also believe this is a part of a series, isn't it? I feel like I read that somewhere. But yeah, I think I'm going to do a video on this where I read a classic that everyone loves that I've never read. Next we have Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Half of a Yellow Sun, another classic that I've never read. There isn't a synopsis on the back of this one. It says, this haunting novel of love, war, and moral responsibility is set against the backdrop of a seminal moment in African history, the Nigerian Civil War, and the unforgettable characters who experienced this tumultuous decade. So, yeah, I've heard amazing things about that book. I've heard amazing things about her work. I read Americana some years back, but I want to reread that because I feel like I didn't get all of what I should have out of that one. Next, we have The Perfect Find by Tia Williams. You guys remember me reading 7 Days in June, and I was like, I need to read every other Tia Williams book there is, but this one is supposed to be coming out as a show as well, so I'm excited. So this says, Jenna Jones, 40-year-old former It Girl fashion editor, is broke and desperate for a second chance. When she's dumped by her longtime fiance and fired from Darling magazine, she's hired at an online fashion site by the publisher, her arch nemesis, Darcy Vale. But Jenna soon realizes she is in over her head. She's working with digital savvy millennials half her age. She has never even Twittered and pretends to still be a fashion somebody while living a style lie. Her designer wardrobe has been replaced by Walmart's finest. Worse, the 20-something videographer assigned to shoot her digital series is driving her crazy. Wildly sexy with a smile Jenna feels in her thighs. Ooh. Eric Combs is way off limits, but also too delicious to resist. Will Jenna risk it all for a lusty secret romance with the one person who could destroy her comeback for good? I hope she does. I know she will. I know it to be so. I know she will. I know something about a smile you can feel. My mama be watching these videos. Shut up. My aunt does too. You know, the other day, my mom was on the phone with my aunt, because you know that's what mamas and their sisters do. They just sit on the phone talk all the time. And my aunt gonna say, I watched one of the show videos and I heard her say the F word, and I was like, dang, I gotta sense it. Hi, Auntie. And if Granny is watching, hi, Granny. Next on the list, we have Memphis by Tara M. Stringfellow. You guys heard me talk about this book before in it was an anticipated reads, or the authors, female authors you may or may not have heard of video or something like that. Summer 1995, 10-year-old Joan, her mother, and her younger sister flee her father's explosive temper and seek refuge at her mother's ancestral home in Memphis. This is not the first time violence has altered the course of the family's trajectory. Half a century earlier, Joan's grandfather built this majestic house in the historic black neighborhood of Douglas, only to be lynched days after becoming the first black homicide detective in the city. Joan tries to settle into her new life, but family secrets cast a longer shadow than all of them expected. As she grows up, Joan finds relief in her artwork, painting portraits of the community in Memphis. One of her subjects is the enigmatic neighbor, Miss Dawn, who claims to know something about curses, whose stories about the past help Joan see how her passion, imagination, and relentless hope are in fact the continuation of a long maternal tradition. Joan begins to understand that her mother, her mother's mother, and the mothers before them persevered, made impossible choices, and put their dreams on hold so that her life would not have to be defined by loss and anger. that the sole instrument she needs for healing is her paintbrush. Unfolding over 70 years through a chorus of unforgettable voices that move back and forth in time, Memphis is an portrait of inheritance, celebrating the complexity of what we pass down in a family and as a country: brutality, justice, faith, forgiveness, sacrifice, and love. I'm really looking forward to reading this. It just sounds so good and so vibrant. And I loved the cover. Let's turn that light out because it's getting on my nerves. Nope, we need it. And we're back. Next we have... There we go. Next we have The Devil's Half Acre. So this is the untold story of how one woman liberated the South's most notorious slave jail. This is by Kristen Green. Confederate statues are being brought down across the country, and America is reckoning with its history. In The Devil's Half Acre, New York Times bestselling author Kristen Green draws on years of research to tell the extraordinary story of young Mary Lumpkin, an enslaved woman who blazed the path of liberation for thousands. Born in 1832, Mary Lumpkin was forced to have the children of a brutal slave trader and live at his Richmond, Virginia slave jail, known by enslaved people as the Devil's Half Acre. In this destitute setting, she not only freed herself and her children, she managed to create something monumental. When Mary Lumpkin inherited the jail after his death, she transformed it into God's Half Acre, a school where black students could fulfill their dreams. It still exists today as Virginia Union University, one of America's first historical black colleges and university. A sweeping narrative of a life in the margins of the American slave trade, The Devil's Half Acre brings Mary Lumpkin into the light. This is a story of the resilience of a woman on the path to freedom, her historic contributions, and her enduring legacy. Now, this story may sound familiar to you because Mary Lumpkin is who the book The Yellow Wife was based on, I believe. And I don't know where my copy... Oh, it's right here. Let's confirm that. Yep, Devil's Half Acre. Yep. Yep, it was inspired by the story of Mary Lumpkin and Lumpkin's jail in Richmond, Virginia. I first discovered Mary Lumpkin the spring of 2016 by accident. Blah, 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 blah. So, yeah. I read the fiction. Now I would like to read the history. The nonfiction. So, there's that. Both of those books can be found on shelbyandthebookstore.com. Both are very good. The Yellow Wife was one of my favorite reads. Okay, the next on the list in the stack, something that everybody has read but me, Where the Crawdad Sings by Delilah Owen. I love the name Delilah, by the way. So this says, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town in the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive, intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the gulls and lessons in the sand. Then the time comes when she yearns to be touched and loved. When two young men from the town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. Where the Crawdads Sing is at once an exquisite ode to the natural world, a heartbreaking coming-of-age story, and a surprising tale of a possible murder. This sounds good. I've heard good things about it. This is also, I think, being prepared to be adapted to film or to TV. And yeah, I want to read it. Can you guess why I bought this book? Okay, now that you've guessed and probably wrong, it's because this shade of blue is one of my all-time favorite colors. When I was a kid, I had a bed that had this huge, fluffy headboard that was this color. It's my absolute favorite. And then I read the synopsis and I was like, oh, this sounds good. So it says Maddie Sykes is a promising seamstress who just arrived in Bright Leaf, North Carolina, the tobacco capital of the South, where her aunt has a thriving sewing business. After years of war rations and shortages, Bright Leaf is a prosperous, wonderful wonderland in full technicolor bloom, and Maddie is dazzled by the bustle of the crisply uniformed female factory workers, the homes, the palatial homes, and most of all, her aunt's glossiest clientele, the wives of the powerful tobacco executives. When a series of unexpected events thrust Maddie into a role of a lead dressmaker for the town's most influential women, she scrambles to produce their ornate gowns for the biggest party of the season. But soon she learns Brightleaf isn't quite the carefree paradise that it seems. A trail of misfortune follows many of the women. Although Maddie is quick to believe this is a coincidence, she inadvertently uncovers evidence that suggests otherwise. Maddie wants to report what she knows, but in a town where everybody depends on big tobacco to survive, she doesn't know whom to trust and fears that exposing the truth may destroy the lives of the proud, inspiring women with whom she has forged strong bonds. Shedding light on the hidden story of women's activism during the post-war period, at its heart, The Tobacco Wives is a deeply human, emotionally satisfying, and dramatic novel about the power of female connection and the importance of seeking the truth. It sounds good, and I wonder if, just stabbing in the dark here, but I wonder if the issue is going to be that they are treating workers badly or poorly or some sort of racism or something like that. So next, we have A Woman of Endurance by Dalma Elanos Figueroa. This you guys also heard me talk about in the same video where I spoke about Memphis. So this is A Woman of Endurance is a novel about the journey of Paula, or is it Paula? An enslaved African woman on a sugarcane plantation in 19th century Puerto Rico. After an attempted escape from a world of slave breeding and brutal beating, Paula awakens to a new plantation, Hacienda Las Mercedes. Every time I see Mercedes, I want to say Mercedes. It's ghetto here, I know. Here, the reader follows her into the nuanced, complex, and supportive world of a community in which she learns to recognize and embrace the many faces of love. A mother's love, a daughter's love, a sister's love, a love of community, and finally the self-love that she must experience before she can offer herself to another. A Woman of Endurance is not a tale of defeat, but rather one of survival, regeneration, and reclamation of common humanity. It illuminates the strength and endurance of an enslaved people who, though held captive, retain the full essence, both good and bad, of the human condition. Ultimately, this is a novel of healing and triumph of the human spirit under the most brutal circumstances. I just love that it is a different take on, not a different take on slavery, but a different perspective on slavery. We don't often talk about slavery that happened in Puerto Rico or anywhere outside of the United States, and I think that's important because knowing where you come from and knowing your history is really, really, really a big deal. It is a big deal. Next we have Take My Hand by Dolan Perkins Valdez. Again, a beautiful, beautiful cover. Like, beautiful. So this one says, Montgomery, Alabama, 1973. Fresh out of nursing school, Sybil Townsend intends to make a difference, especially in her African American community. At the Montgomery Family Planning Clinic, she hopes to help women shape their destinies to make their own choices for their lives and bodies. But when her first week on the job takes her down a dusty country road to a worn down one-room cabin. Sybil is shocked to learn that her new patients, Erica and India, are children, just 11 and 13 years old. Neither of the Williams sisters have even kissed a boy, but they are poor and black, and for those handling the family's welfare benefits, that's reason enough to have the girls on birth control. As Sybil grapples with her role, she takes India, Erica, and their family into her heart until one day she arrives at their door to learn the unthinkable has happened, and nothing will ever be the same for them. Decades later, with her daughter grown and a long career in her wake, Dr. Sybil Towson is ready to retire, to find her peace and to leave the past behind. But there are people and stories that refuse to be forgotten, that must not be forgotten, because history repeats what we don't remember. Because history repeats what we don't remember. When we don't learn the lessons, history repeats itself. Are you listening? Inspired by true events and brimming with hope, Take My Hand is a stirring exploration of accountability and redemption. This sounds like it's going to be really good. And I don't think I've really read any fiction that dealt with anything medical before. Okay, this one I found in Barnes & Noble the other day. Let's see, can I pick this up with my foot? Ready, set. Shelby and her weird talents. Ta-da! Yeah, I found this in Barnes & Noble the other day because I went in there to grab something I had to take pictures of something. And it's called The Wolf Den by Elodie Harper. I believe that's how you say that. First of all, look at this orange. My mother is going to see this book and be like, give it to me. What is it? So it says, enter into the wolf den. Amara was once the beloved daughter of a Greek doctor, until her father's death plunged her mother into destitution. Now Amara is a slave and prostitute in Pompeii's notorious wolf den brothel, owned by a cruel, ruthless man. Intelligent and resourceful, she is forced to hide her true self, but her spirit is far from broken. Buoyed by the sisterhood she forges with the brothel's other women, Amara finds solace in the laughter and hopes they all share. For the streets of the city are alive with opportunity. Here, even the lowest born slave can dream of a new beginning. But everything in Pompeii has a price. How much will Amara's freedom cost? The Wolf Den is the first in a trilogy of novels about the lives of women in ancient Pompeii. Yeah, this sounds like it's gonna be good. And I've been looking for something like Greek mythology adjacent, or like in that realm of things, you know. Next, we have The Man in the Basement. Something that I want to reread, but I think I want this to be a book club pick. So it says, hailed as a masterpiece, the finest work yet by an American novelist of the first rank. The Man in the Basement tells the story of Charles Blakely, a young black man who can't find a job, drinks too much, and worst of all, stands to lose the beautiful home that has belonged to his family for generations. But Charlie's fortune takes an odd turn when a stranger offers nearly $50,000 to rent out Charlie's basement, and soon as the border transforms the basement into a prison cell, Charlie finds himself drawn into circumstances almost unimaginably bizarre and profoundly unsettling. I think this is, I know it's going to be good. I don't remember the outcome. I don't remember any of that, but I definitely want to read it. Next, we have The Blue Skin Gods by S.J. Sindhu. So it says, in Tamil Nadu, India, a boy is born with blue skin. His father sets up an ashram, and the family makes a living off the pilgrims who seek the child's blessings and miracles, believing young Kalki to be the 10th human incarnation of the Hindu god Vishnu. In Kalki's 10th year, he is confronted with 3 trials that will test his power and prove his divine status, and his father tells him, spread his fame worldwide. worldwide. While he seems to pass them, Kalki begins to question his divinity. Over the next decade, his family unravels, and every relationship he relied on, father, mother, aunt, uncle, cousin, starts falling apart. Traveling from India to the underground rock scene of New York City, Blue Skin Gods explores ethnic, gender, and sexual identities and spans continents and faiths in an expansive and heartfelt look at the need for belief in our globally interconnected world. Oh, I think it's all of a sudden raining. This one, I kept seeing it places and it just kept popping up out at me. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to have it. Next, we have When We Were Birds by Ayana Lloyd Banwu. In the old house on a hill where the city meets the rainforest, Yejidis, I think that's how you say that. Her mother is dying. She is leaving behind a legacy that passes to Yedidi. One Saint Bernard woman in every generation must shepherd the city's souls into the afterlife. But after years of suffering, her mother's neglect and bitterness, Yejidi is looking for a way out. Raised in the countryside by a devout mother, Darwin has always abided by the ancient Rastafarian vow not to interact with the dead. He has never been to a funeral, much less seen a dead body. But when the only job he can find is grave digging, he must betray the life his mother built for him in order to provide for them both. Newly shorn of his dreadlocks and his past, and determined to prove himself, Darwin finds himself adrift in a city electric with possibility and danger. Yejidi and Darwin will meet inside the gates of Fidelis, an old and sprawling cemetery where the dead lie uneasy in their graves, and a reckoning with fate beckons them both. A masterwork of lush imagination and exuberant storytelling, When We Were Birds is a spellbinding and hopeful novel about inheritance, loss, and love's seismic power to heal. This is another one that I can't wait to get to that one. Next, this one comes out today. So when you're seeing this on the 19th of April, this will be coming out. So Glory returns to London from her seemingly glorious life in LA to mourn the sudden death of her father, only to find her previously close family in chaos. Her brother is in jail and won't speak to her because she didn't come home for his trial. Her older sister, once a busy career woman, appears to have lost her ambition and is instead channeling her energies into holding together a perfect suburban family. Worst of all, their mother is headed toward a breakdown. Rather than returning to America, Glory decides to stay and to bring them all together again. A chance reunion with a man she'd known in her teens gives Glory the courage to start questioning why her respectable but obviously private Nigerian immigrant family is the way it is. But then Glory's curiosity unearths a massive secret that shatters the family. This sounds like it's going to be good. And isn't the author beautiful? Isn't she beautiful? That sounds like it's going to be good. You can get that today. It is a new release. Next, Half Lion. In a land of brutal conquest, twisted histories, and forbidden magic, the Lion tribe is in crisis. The chief has 3 heirs: the warrior, the worker, and the accursed. For one to ascend the lion chair, the others must be broken. This is a fantasy. I can't wait to read that. I feel like that's going to be good. And like I'm going to have to bully my mother into reading that with me, because I just think it's going to be so good. Oh, it's raining outside all of a sudden. Next, we have Blood and Fire by George R.R. Martin, the Grim Reaper himself. So it says, set centuries before the events of Game of Thrones, Fire and Blood is the first volume of George R.R. Martin's definitive 2-part history of the Targaryens and Westeros. It begins with the legendary Aegon the Conqueror, creator of the Iron Throne, and goes on to recount the generations of Targaryens who fought to hold on to that iconic seat, all the way up to the civil war that nearly tore their dynasty apart. This essential chronicle as related by the learned maester of the Citadel, features way more than 80 black and white illustrations by Doug Wheatley, including 5 all-new illustrations exclusive to this paperback edition. With Fire and Blood, readers will gain a fresh appreciation for the dynamic, often bloody, and always fascinating history of Westeros. I'm reading this. I want to read this. I got it and will read it because the series comes out in August. So that is on my list for then. Next, we have my baby, The Books of Jacob. This book is 965 pages long. It is also numbered backwards, which I thought was really, really cool. So it says, in mid-18th century, as a new unrest begins to sweep Europe, a young Jewish of mysterious origins arrives in a village in Poland. Visited by what seemed to be the ecstatic experience, Jacob Frank cast a charismatic spell. In the decade to come, he and his increasingly fervent followers will crisscross the Habsburgs and the Ottoman empires as he reinvents himself again and again, converts to Islam and then to Catholicism, is pillared as a heretic one moment, hailed as the Messiah the next, all amid rumors of his sect's secret ritual and radical beliefs. The story of Frank, a real historical figure around whom mystery and controversy swirl to this day, is an ideal canvas for Olga's genius and unparalleled reach. Narrated through the perspectives of his contemporaries, those who revere him, those who revile him, and the friend who betrays him, the lone woman who sees him for what he is. The Books of Jacob captures a world on the cusp of change, searching for certainty and longing for transcendence. I cannot wait to read this. I love a saga. I love that there are pictures and maps and all of that kind of stuff. I'm super excited to read this. This is also the reason for the Shelby and the Big Books Challenge, which by the time you see this, you will have seen that video already. So I'm super excited about that. And then last on the list, how many books was that? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 books. Jesus Christ. So it says, to the outside observer, Vivian is a success story. A dedicated lawyer who advocates for mentally ill patients at the New York Presbyterian Psychiatric Facility. Privately, Vivian contends with the memories and after effects of her bad childhood, compounded by the everyday stresses of being a black Latinx woman in America. She lives in the constant state of hypervigilant awareness that makes even a simple subway ride a heart-pounding drama. For years, Vivian has self-medicated with a mix of dating, dieting, dark humor, and smoking weed with her BFF Jane. But after a family reunion prompts Vivian to take a bold step, she finds herself alone in new and terrifying ways, without even Jane to confide in, and she starts to unravel. Will she find a way to repair what matters to her most? I think this sounds interesting. I think it's a fresh perspective, and I'm really excited to read this. I like books. So this post-traumatic, when I read it, it was giving me what was that book, Luster vibes, and I read Luster and I hated every second of it. Because I felt like it was unrealistic. I felt like it was... Anyway. I feel like that's going to do what Lester thought that it was doing. And I'm excited to read it. So, that is it. That was all 21 books that I have purchased within the last month. And I will see you again next month for another book haul. If no one has told you today, I love you. And let me know what books you got this month. What are you currently reading? What are you looking forward to buying? And I will see you soon. Bye, guys.